Good day, everyone. Welcome to today's Think Tank. Is it May 9th, I think, right? Yeah, well, they start getting mixed up after a while, but it's May 9th. We're conducting a think tank. We're doing something a little different today that we haven't done in previous times. This think tank is kind of growing. We've made it college-wide. It does show some of our scholarship that we're doing from our professors. There's a lot more out there that I don't necessarily know about, but we're getting people slowly in to come share their knowledge and their resources, and then be able to share that with our students, which is important. All of us seek to be practitioner scholars, especially when we get our doctorates and our PhDs. We seek to be practitioner scholars and take new knowledge, turn that around, and contribute in some way to the greater body of knowledge and solving problems. And that's a lot what research does, is it solves problems that society has, or answers questions that people don't quite understand. So if you have anything that you want to share with me as a professor, you're welcome to do that. Just shoot me an email. This will eventually go onto our Creative Scholarship blog, and I will post that link into our chat room in a little while once Dr. Post gets started. And you can visit that. Feel free to share that, share that with your students, share that with your friends. That's all public, that's all open kind of facing stuff that you can do. So without further ado, we're gonna get going. And I just wanted to welcome Dr. Post, and I'm gonna let her say a little bit about herself and then move right into her study.
Thank you. I definitely appreciate that, Dr. Murad. My name is Dr. Michelle Post, and coming to you from snowy Colorado, May 9th. We had 4 inches last night, and it's still snowing right now. So my background is business, IT, and higher ed. I am a adjunct professor in both bachelor's, master's, and doctorate. But my passion, my company, the Post Institute, the Center for Lifelong Learning, has a strong pillar in social media. And as I've been incorporating all of my corporate experience with my higher ed and my love for technology, I keep seeing where we have so many new opportunities to use social media. So one of these is using social media to be a more effective leader in the 21st century classroom, as well as in the workplace. What I talk about here can literally be overlaid in any industry, because social media is not what it is currently today is not what it was created for, about 15 years ago. So I want to just kind of put that out there. I'm what's known as a certified social media strategist and a social media systems engineer, because I brought my business and engineering background into this to show social media is an extension of who you are as an individual. It's not a nice to have. It's not a fad. That it still amazes me when people say, "Oh, it's still a fad." Honestly, it's not. It's not going away. In fact, it's becoming more part of who we are. So I haven't put this into full PowerPoint yet, because I just want to show you some of the slides, because I want to jump out to the internet to show you the significance of social media. So the workshop objectives, get that slide to come up, is kind of give you a broad overview of what is going on in the social spectrum and the impact that it's having on every generation, not just one generation. And so that is, significant in itself. So when I was coming up with the idea for this, I was looking at social media, effective leadership in the 21st century classroom. And there is an intersection, which I call the sweet spot, of how you bring these together. Because part of it is, if we look at each one of these separate, we're going to start seeing the same themes come out of this, and as I go through this, I'll show you what I'm talking about. And so this next slide, this is just a screenshot of it. And so I'm going to try to take you out to the internet to show you this side. So hopefully you can see this live site. If not, it's called internetlivestats.com. And this is a 1-second snapshot of what is happening on the internet in the world. And so, you know, we're looking at 4.2 billion active users right now on the internet, and we only have 7.5 billion people in the world. So more than 50% of the world is on the internet, just as we're talking about this. It tells about websites, emails, but then I want to show how social media is so impactful and part of our day-to-day living. You know, we can see Twitter here, blog posts, Google searchings, YouTube, Instagram, Tumblr, and Facebook. You know, Facebook has 2.2 billion active users right now. And then we just continue to go and see Pinterest, Skype. So this site is one of my favorites, because when someone is saying, you know, to me, oh, you know, internet or social media is just a fad, I take them to this website and say, I beg to differ, you know, of what we're seeing live, of what's going on, and that we have to embrace it as educators, as leaders. And one of the things is teachers are leaders and leaders are teachers. They're synonymous, that they can't be one without the other. So we're going to take a look here at social media today. And when we're looking at the population growth of what's happening just across the different generations, in America right now actually has 8 living generations in America, with the youngest being Gen Alpha to the oldest being the vets. So on the left, we have the population growth, and this is by the United Nations Population Division. And on the right, we have the social media growth. So you can actually look side by side and see that everything's growing. Our populations are growing, as well as our social media use, you know, by age. You know, a lot of people say, oh, 65 and above aren't using it. No, we're seeing that extensively. I mean, one of the highest groups on Facebook is actually 65 and older that really utilize Facebook. So showing, you know, globally in American that social media is a part of our everyday, but how we use it is what's really, really changing. So I love this one statistic here that, you know, we see on the left side, well, my left side, 7.5 billion people in the world, 4 billion are on the internet, with almost another, you know, 42%, 3 billion that are active social media users. And we have to think about mobile as well. This is where we're really becoming the power in our hand to learn. One of the classes I teach is about, you know, video for business. And with the technology of mobile today, we have full media companies in our hands. And so just this graphic alone shows the significance of how social media is used. And, you know, I could bring it down further and show by business, education, different industries, but I really wanted to show the impact that social media and leadership and education, they have to go hand in hand. And as a technologist, this is kind of my geeky side that I wanted to show. This is by MarTech. They started doing a marketing technology landscape in 2011, and they discovered about 150 companies that support what's going on as we see in marketing technology. And marketing is changing. It's not the traditional anymore, because again, social media and 21st century technology has created us to be individual leaders, where we have to do personal branding now. So we have to be aware of the persona that we are putting out there. and the tools that support that. So you can see from the growth, and I actually literally just updated this slide this morning, that in 2018, we went from 2017, we went from 5,000 supporting technologies to 6,800. And then currently in 2019, which we're only in first quarter, over 7,000 supporting technologies that supports marketing, which social media is a big part of that. And if you actually, you can go download this graphic from MarTech for free and see all the different industries now that play into the social media realm. So this is social media. This is the big players in social media. This is not the full spectrum. To really see the full spectrum of players out there, I definitely encourage the Conversation Prism by Brian Solis and Just Three. But these are the big players. And there was actually a report that just came out from Social Media Examiner that shows the top social media platform being used right now is Facebook. The second largest is LinkedIn, with the third being Instagram. And so here again, with being either a leader, a business, or an educator, we have to realize, what are these platforms capable of? You know, are our learners on those platforms, and how can we utilize those platforms to help, you know, become a more effective leader in our classroom using social media? So what's an effective leader? I just wanted to look at a little bit of just talking about companies are expecting to spend $37 billion by next year just to help leaders in their companies build a social media presence. And this is so important, and this is critical, because we're realizing all across every industry, we have to have a social media presence. It's not a nice to have, an after effect. It has to be planned at the beginning of a business, of a startup. And you have to start thinking of, how am I going to be branding that? How am I, you know, what's going to be my message? How am I going to take who I am and bring that across social media? And I love this quote by Richard Branson, who said, "Embracing social media isn't just a bit of fun. It's a vital way to communicate, keep your ear to the ground, and improve your business." And we are a business. Our students are a business. Our teaching is a business. Our leading is a business. And we have more opportunities in 21st century to be really reaching our learners in more ways than just in the traditional face-to-face classroom, or even what I would call the traditional online classroom of 2 discussion questions, you know, in a paper. There's so much more we can do with that. And so I just really wanted to kind of set that. So I went out and did some research, and I looked for all the keywords. I looked up, you know, several different articles saying what's an effective leader. And some of the big keywords that came across, you know, is integrity, values, a learner, creativity, curiosity, critical thinking, care. I mean, every one of the words that I found for what an effective leader is, I can align that to what it means to be successful on social media, and then what it means to have a successful 21st century classroom. So we see that the sweet spot is, how do we bring these 3 together using, you know, these keywords? So if I'm going to talk about my values as a leader, how then do I bring that through social media, through the 21st century classroom? And an example is your authentic voice. A rule of thumb when you're posting on social media is, if you're posting something and it does not add value, don't post it. You know, it comes back to the golden rule of post about others what you want posted about you. How is it educating, encouraging, empowering, informing, equipping? These are what makes an effective leader. They're a coach, they're a mentor, they have passion, they have vision, they're there to lead the way. And so we can take that effective leader with that social media of saying, I don't have to be everywhere anymore. I just need to be somewhere well. And I guarantee you, all the generations are on Facebook, and all the 5 working generations are on LinkedIn as well as Instagram. So just even picking one of those platforms and say, how do I engage now using that social media with my leadership? Do I do industry postings? Do I share blogs that I liked, or white papers, or video now? Chris Brogan is one of the mentors I follow, and he quoted just recently that if you're not using video, you're invisible. And this is so true, because we need one another. A leader who's effective has followers who want to follow and who want to believe in what that leader is doing, but they want to become part of what that leader's creating, because they want to develop, they want to be part of that community. And that's what social media is about now, 15 years past, of going, it's not about making noise. It's about creating communities of people that want to support one another, help one another, believe in each other and lift each other up and say, hey, I have this resource, go check it out. Or, hey, here's something I just created, maybe it'll help you. It's not about taking what we have and holding it close to our chest. It's going, hey, how can I give this away to help create 21st century leaders? Pardon, I gotta take a drink. And so as we go from effective leader, then we go into 21st century classroom. So what is a 21st century classroom? And there is so much research on this, because a lot of the research actually looks at the K-12. And I feel there's a gap when it comes to adult 21st century. And we have to look at it, because the words that are being thrown around it's the modalities or the methods of, it's using gamification or competency-based education or project-based education or real-world education, space makers, storytellers, flipped classroom, collaborative environments, which are all great components. However, it just doesn't take one of those. And this is why looking at an effective leader with social media into the 21st century to create that sweet spot, that is, if I know who I am as a leader, if I know my values, if I know my communication style, my collaboration, my leadership style, it doesn't matter if I'm using one of these different methods or modalities. It does matter that I'm bringing myself and using this technology called social media to build this classroom. And so when we look at, and this is, I would say my opinion, and based on the research, is, what is 21st century classroom? And this is just some of it, that it's leadership, it's that communication, it's that education and encourage, empower, equip. It's not about the entitlement or just giving, it's about challenging, it's about encouraging, it's that community of inclusiveness and caring and listening. And I do love the word challenge. I challenge my learners to go find the answers. There's a statistic that children on average ask 130 questions a day. Adults only ask 5. because we're afraid of being shamed. We're afraid of not knowing the answer or looking stupid. And the reality is we need to be asking more questions. It was Aristotle who said, all the answers exist, but it's the questions that haven't been asked. And that's what, I would say with social media in this combination of what I call a sweet spot is, why aren't we asking the questions of how can we use this with our leadership, our effective leadership, and what each platform has the ability to do to enhance our classroom. It's not a replacement, it's an enhancement. Because technology now, we're definitely not lacking. When I teach a face-to-face class, I look out and I see laptops and I see tablets and I see smartphones, and my classroom has smart boards and Wi-Fi. And so it's just going, wow, we are not lacking for tech, but are we utilizing it correctly and effectively? And content, it's, I believe in the, discussion questions and the assignments, however challenging, them to use case studies and white papers and infographics, or even video in blogs. I mean, we have academic peer-reviewed blog sites like researchblogging.org that is real time and it's really great information. Or we have the invisible web. One of my favorite sites there is virtualprivatelibrary.com that has information going all the way back to 1984 to present of resources that Google doesn't even find. And what does it take as far as the skills? And this is both a leader and a learner. The follower is critical thinking. Critical thinking. There was a study that came out in 2013, and it looked at 23 different countries. It was 165,000 adults aged 16 to 65, and they tested them on problem solving in reading and writing. America scored 21st out of 23 countries for that critical thinking, that problem solving. And it's like, wow, what's going on here? And then I'm a huge fan of systems thinking. And this is where my passion for research lies, is with social media and systems thinking. Is we see the whole, but we have to see the parts and how the parts work together. And that's why I came up with this topic of, we can see how we can all work together with effective leadership and social media in the 21st century classroom. But then how do we get into that intersection? What are the systems that we need to put in place to understand that? And communication, it is so critical in this day and age, because we have more ways to communicate, yet we have highest amounts of less understanding. And then asking questions, just challenging and asking questions and willingness to learn, creating these self-directed learners, these self-determined learners, to say it's out there. It literally is out there on the internet. Another site that I go to a lot is called answerthepublic.com, because whatever keyword I can put out there, it's going to show me all the potential questions that have ever been asked about that keyword. And when I click on the link, it takes me to all the research. So again, it's teaching, how do I ask the right questions? And we have seen this, you can go back to one of the number one TED Talk is by Sir Ken Robinson, that talks about how education has been killing creativity, and it's encouraging students to be creative, to be curious, to really think and wonder and challenge. And big is cultural awareness. We have such a melting pot of learners in this day and age, and that's where, even as the leaders, we have to be culturally aware. We have to be very understanding of diversity and civic responsibility and digital literacy. Just because I always love this when I'm teaching social media, especially if I have a mixed generation classroom. You know, the baby boomers are like, oh, the millennials know it all, you know, because they grew up with tech. That's not true. They know what they use well, but I guarantee you they don't know the strategies and the tactics and the campaigns or the systems of how things work. So we can't make those assumptions. And then collaboration. This is so important in 21st century tech. And then autonomy is helping people realize one of the lessons I tried to, you know, support and stand in use as a platform is that each one of us is gifted in something. And it's our responsibility to use that gift to serve others. And we can see this autonomy in recent research with Todd Rose's book, The End of Average, that talks there is no average. We are all a genius in something, and we need to be inspired and encouraged to find what that genius is and how to be able to be released to try and fail and try and fail and try and fail without ramifications. And again, I bring the word challenge. This is what 21st century classroom to me is: challenge the norm, is, you know, challenge the values, challenge the biases, their perceptions. You know, it's the thinking of what we're thinking about. So how do we put all of this together? How do we take this mega world of social media and how do we take our leadership, our effective leadership, and combine it with a 21st century classroom of whatever definition that is for you? You know, for me, the 21st century classroom was that it's the embracing of technology and resources outside of the norm. So the first thing is you have to use your authentic voice. And that is critical, even just as an effective leader, is you have to come from your core and that voice. And I'm going to explain what this is on the next slide. And this is the same thing I teach to my clients with social media. I can post anything on social media, but if I don't have their authentic voice, all I'm doing is throwing Jello on a wall and hoping something sticks. Because I need to know what they know. I need to know their values. I need to know their originality. I need to know their influence. I need to know how they care, how they engage. And if I don't have that, then it is a waste of my time and their time, because we need to make sure when we're posting on social media or engaging on social media, that is coming from our effectiveness, from our authenticity, our integrity. And the other thing is know your purpose. You know, that sweet spot is, why am I doing this? Am I doing this to add more work? Am I doing this to check a box? Or am I doing this to say, hey, what about this? Or did you think about that? Or go look at this site. Go, you know, use the CRAP method, C-R-A-A-P, credible, reliable, authentic, authoritative, purposeful examination of content to say, why can you not use this, or why can you use this? And then really importantly is be intentional. To use social media well and to do it well as an effective leader is be intentional. It's not about making noise. It's not about being busy. It's not about, you know, just trying to inundate somebody with your brilliance or with resources, but it's saying, I'm going to be intentional. Because as a social media strategist, there's so much science now behind social media that for a business, a small business, to be successful, let's just say on Facebook, it only takes one quality post a day, and that's 7 days a week. So you're talking 7 pieces of content. And that's not a lot, and that's quality. We're looking for who you are. We're looking for that authentic you. So authentic voice, and V is for values. A leader has to come from their core. An effective leader definitely has to not only come from their core, but stand behind their core. And that value is your extension on social media, which then is also that extension into the classroom. Who I am standing in front of, when I'm standing in front of my students, is who I am, whether it's in my business or in my church or in my home or in my volunteer work. I'm coming from that value. And so posting on social media and engaging comes that I want to add value from where I'm coming from. The O is original. There is no one else like you. And this is the same as an effective leader. I guarantee you, if you do this experiment, which is a very humbling experiment, that you find about 20 people in your network, and they can be all different parts of your network, you know, family, friends, supervisors, direct reports, and you ask them the simple question to complete this sentence. Michelle helps Hal, and replace, you know, your name with Michelle. So it's Susan, Gary, Greg, whatever helps Hal. And when they fill in that sentence, it is amazing the results that you can receive back, because everybody perceives you differently and everybody sees that originality in you, but they see it from their perception, from their lens. And so your authentic voice, Bernadette Jiwa says it this way: everything has been said or done before, but not by you, because you're the original. So that's really important on your authentic voice. I is for influencer. And you'll hear me quote a lot of statistics. And this is one when I learned this one a decade ago, I still use because it's so powerful. Anthropologists state in the shyest person's lifetime, they will influence no less than 10,000 people. And that's in a physical realm. Now, imagine taking that exponentially to social media, of the potential you have to influence people, not just in your classroom, but in your university, and then outside of your state, outside of your country. It's amazing what social media has allowed us to do when it's done right, when it comes from that effective leading. And then C is for care. And it comes back to the cliche, no one's going to care until they know how much you care. And you want to care more than others. Give your knowledge away, share your experiences, tell your story, because I guarantee your story is affecting generations that are not even born yet. And then engage. This is what social media is about in this day and age right now, is that engagement. How do I build a community that is helping me and I'm helping it? And it's not about being everywhere, it's being somewhere well. So meet others where they're at. And how do we do this to be an effective leader using social media in a 21st century classroom? One way is asking and answering questions via Twitter. For educators, Twitter is a brilliant search engine. It's actually the third largest search engine for finding information. And so, don't be afraid to use it. Then creating stories via Instagram and Facebook. There was a statistic that just came out today talking about these stories are going to be, we're going to get so addicted to them because we want to know what's going on in people's lives. How are they being impacted and how does that impact us? Providing resources via Pinterest boards. Pinterest is not a social networking site like Facebook or LinkedIn. It is a resource site. You can actually go to pinterest.com/impostphd And I think I have about 65 boards that support all the different topics I teach on. And so if students are looking for resources, I'll send them to one of my boards and say, hey, go check out this board on APA or researching. So, and it's fun because it's visual learning. And 90% of today's learners are visual. So we have to, again, make sure we're being that effective leader and reading our learners correctly as well. And then video. Can't say it enough. It is the king of content. I mean, content is what makes social media work, but video now is the king of that, and live video is really just going crazy on all the platforms. And there's so much. I mean, we get inundated with YouTube and other video platforms, but now because of the power in our smartphones, which is a full media company, we can start videoing. One of the gentlemen I follow on LinkedIn, Alex Perot from Australia, he's just out on the docks, you know, taking his lunch, and he'll just stop and turn on his video, his smartphone, and do a video. And people love that because it's his authentic self. It's him being an effective leader and sharing what he knows in the moment, and not going, well, I got to go, you know, make it look pretty and put all this, you know, music in there. People want the raw. They want to know that you're there. And creating communities of inclusion. And this can be done easily through LinkedIn groups or Facebook groups. And you can make them both private and create these. And now we're seeing that we can actually even monetize these events, you know, if you want to, but helping your students more offline than just online, to say there's other ways to engage with them. And using the different 21st century technologies to create self-determined, self-directed learners by teaching them critical thinking skills, by challenging them you know, on their perceptions and their biases and their lenses, and getting them to look at things differently and ask the questions, you know, ask the questions. And it's helping them to realize not being afraid to fail. You know, try and fail is the new mantra of success, because it's better to have tried and failed than not done anything at all. You know, it's that taking that action. And because of social media, we have created this incredible environment now that, especially as, you know, business and teachers, is if I try something, it doesn't work, I can try it again, and my community's not going to go, oh my gosh, look what they've done. I mean, I work, again, one of my mentors, he has rebranded himself, I think 4 times in 6 years, but we keep following him because he keeps getting clarity on his message. So we've been allowed to be more forgiving and more accepting and more tolerant, to go, oh, because I'm using my effective leadership with my social media properly and bringing it into my communities, including my 21st century classroom, there's more leeway, I guess you could say. And then building those relationships through engagement. And I can't say it enough, critical thinking. This is so important in teaching learners to challenge and showing learners that there's more ways than one to learn. You know, I love TED Talks, and there's a great TED Talk called Teach Me How to Make Toast. Got a wicked problem, teach me how to make toast. And it's just amazing that this one leader kept asking all of his students, you know, tell me how you make toast, draw it for me. He got anywhere from 3 steps to 37 steps on how to make toast. And it's like, wow, how are we all, you know, how do we communicate that then? And then you talk about it. You say, you know, what's going on here? You know, why 3 steps? Why 37 steps? And it's a great starting point to show how important each person is in this you know, environment in that sweet spot, because I could probably add the fourth in there of the learner, you know, of showing what they have to bring to the class. One of the things as an educator, and I've been, you know, teaching in higher ed since 2005, but training prior to that, is I can't bring the students' experiences into my classroom. And it's those experiences that enhance the classroom, that really bring, you know, the coursework to life, to go, would have never thought of it that way, you know. And so I just encourage, you know, to think about who you are as a leader, how you could use some of social media, not all of it. I would say pick one platform, or just, you know, start learning about it and how other people are using it to enhance your classroom. And it's teaching, you know, students, regardless of their age, that what you put out on social media will follow you the rest of your life. And so we have to teach that digital citizenship, that civic responsibility, that social awareness, that it's not out there to get my 15 minutes of fame. It's not there for bullying. It's not there for shaming. It's there to go, we can grow from it, you know, both as a leader and as a teacher. So, cool. So I left some time. Yay. And that's hard for a Southerner, let me tell you. So,
That's fantastic. Thank you so much, Dr. Post. Does anybody have any questions or comments that they'd like to make? They're welcome to do so. Great information. We got that. So somebody's saying thank you.
Oh, no, my pleasure. I mean, this is my passion. I love finding out how social media, if used properly, can enhance what we do.
Got another kudos. Okay, here we have a question here. So it says, do you recommend well, so it's moving too fast here. Do you recommend, do you have a recommended platform or management of one platform when teaching multiple and diverse topics?
Honestly, Pinterest, because you can create a board. For example, I teach leadership, social media, and different technologies. In Pinterest, I can go create a board for that topic, and even a board for each subtopic. And I don't have to go create all the content. I actually, when I create a board, Pinterest will recommend different pins or even group boards for your board and say, hey, you might like this. And then I just go pin crazy. I just start, because I'm not using Pinterest to try to grow my business. I'm using it to support both my coaching clients and more my students. And so I definitely would recommend Pinterest. And we actually just implemented Pinterest boards into the Abel program, the Associates in Business Leadership.
Okay, so we have a question says that, can you show us one of your Pinterest boards?
Yeah, let me. Okay, little toolbar's in my way. Let me just open a different one.
Well, looks like people liked your idea. Some people are going to saying they want to use do a presentation on Pinterest, so that's cool.
Yeah, and so can you all see this screen that it just shows Pinterest.com and post PhD? So it has like entrepreneurs, email marketing, but if I scroll down, it has leadership. I have generation boards, Facebook. I have time management, search and research. So whatever topic that I'm teaching on, I can create a board for it, because I guarantee you there is so much visual data that exists. And even now, videos are on here, blogs are on here, but, you know, in most of this, I didn't create. I just go and find the pins and just add it to my board. So it's like taking a big cork board in your house, and every time you find an article or an image, you just stick it on there. And then I send my students to it and say, oh, if you need help with additional understanding of this, go to my board, and they can see it differently, which is really cool.
You are getting a lot of kudos. They said this is probably one of the best presentations in 7 years. So that's pretty good. Wow.
Okay. Well, and I'd ask a huge favor. I've actually been given the privilege not only to give it here, but present it at the Association of Leadership and Education in July. So if you can see how I can make this better, please email me. I'm michelle.post at, faculty.ashford.edu, or my personal email is impost.phd@gmail.com. And I would love any feedback on the presentation of how I can improve it. Okay. So I just have a passion.
Somebody asked the question, how does Instagram work for classroom student content?
It is really interesting. A lot of it is stories. We're actually testing the story function right now. I write for a newspaper, and so here again, if you have an Instagram account and the stories, let's see if I don't know if I can bring, when you're in Instagram and you see the little circles above your account, these are what's called stories, these little guys right here. Well, one of the things we're testing, and you could do this as well as an educator, is that you can create stories for, like, I'm teaching management right now, so I could have a management highlight, and I can go get a blog post or an infographic or a quote, anything, and post it into my Instagram, and then bring it up to my highlight, and I can create stories off of those. So another way is if you teach quizzes, you can actually, or test, you can create posts that has test questions, or the information that's going to be, the topics that might be on a test, with a website for them to go do some additional research. So it's looking at, this is one of the things I help with business. I look at what the physical assets somebody already has, and I say, now how do we go take that to Instagram in what I call digitizing it? So it's taking your lectures, just like, say, this PowerPoint right here. Say if I were to give this in one of my classrooms, I could snip each one of these slides using, any type of snipping tool. Windows has a great snipping tool, and then go post that on Instagram, so that my students are now getting that presentation as well in their feed. And again, I can make them into stories. I can say, oh, here's my management, here's my strategy class, here's my communications class. So I can create my highlights through here, and you can create to 7 highlights, and then just posting information you find into those highlights. And you can challenge your students. You can make it like a, what do you call that? A scavenger hunt. So say if you already have an Instagram, you can say, oh, for answering this discussion question, you have to go check my highlights on my Instagram. So you force them to a scavenger hunt to go out and look outside of just going, oh, well, you're going to give me the information in class. I just need to, sit here and wait for everybody else to post. So it's really thinking outside of your box.
Okay, that's great. Let's see if we have any other questions. Are you able to bounce ideas and offer wisdom as we transition into utilizing social media in the classroom?
Oh, most definitely. I love answering questions and providing ideas. I really do. So whether I'm happy to do more live webinars, or I'm happy, for you to email me or call me. here's my website. And there's actually a lot of free resources up on my website, and I'm slowly building it out. There's a lot of social media up there under resources. And so you'll also find my contact information up there. I'm definitely open for help. I love answering questions. So if my website ever comes up.
Well, and you know what? Somebody also asked the question of, will this be recorded? Yeah, it's currently being recorded, and it'll be turned into a video and then, sent out for people to just, if they want to use it in their classrooms or they just want to use it, share it. It'll be probably public facing, most likely. So, but, just get through that process and get it out there. But pretty sure it's going to be sent out to everybody in an email. So they'll be able to use it where they want to.
Yeah. And like I said, you can clip whatever you want out of it. And again, I would encourage you, however I can improve that presentation, I would love for your feedback. So, and I don't lack for resources. That's one of the things, I guess you could say I'm almost a resource junkie. So if you're saying, hey, I'm needing something, like answerthepublic.com is a brilliant site to, just to help you get trends on content. That's one of the sites I send my doctoral students to when they're trying to figure out their topic and research questions. I send them there, or to google.com/trends to see what's trending. So yeah, so these are like, here's some free ebooks I've written. And these are social bites is for social, academic bites, business bites, and dissertation bites. So, and it's all free. You just click on it and a PDF will open up, and you're most welcome. You have my approval to use it however you need to. So, cool. But I am so grateful for the privilege to present to such phenomenal educators and leaders and learners. So thank you.
Fantastic. Okay, so if there isn't anything, somebody asked, can you repeat that website, please?
It is answerthepublic.com. And what is really cool about it, it ties in with Google. And so you just put your keywords. So if you said social media classroom, let's just see if I can bring up anything. And I actually love that guy. So what it'll do is it's looking for questions that are on these keywords, and it found 13. And so how can I use social media to enhance literacy in the classroom? If I click on it, it will then bring up all of my research. And using advanced Google, instead of going back forever, I can say past year. So now it's going to bring me very, very current information of how to use social media in the classroom. But so it does the research for you, which is, hey, love that. So, and it's just really cool. So.
Okay, so if you have any specific questions, you can send them to Dr. Post, and it's some generic questions, or if you want to present, you're certainly welcome to send those to me. And I hope everyone had a wonderful presentation. You did a fantastic job. We had a very high turnout, so that's good news. And, yeah,
awesome.
That's great. Anyway, so everybody have a wonderful day, and thank you very much, and goodbye.
Thank you all. I really appreciate it.